Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Soros. And this is the new documentary about philanthropist, influencer, billionaire, and overall controversial figure, George Soros. And this is directed by Jesse Dillon, and from the very start, it's a whole bunch of quick clips, mostly from Fox News and Alex Jones, talking about this human, well, they even say not human, this demon, this devil, this hate monger and destroyer of lives, and you just get this barrage of clips and everything, and you're like, what am I gonna be watching? And you're expecting this kind of high energy, in your face kind of documentary. And because I didn't know much about this documentary, I didn't know what the perspective was this was going at. Because obviously, especially when you're looking at a political figure or political situations, there are a lot of different ways you can frame it. And I wasn't quite sure what the frame of this was, and I thought it was very interesting from the start. There's this aggressive, in-your-face kind of style of documentary setting up this man to be this horrifying person. And then it comes to a very reserved and interview-style documentary of these different people trying to break down those thoughts. And including, surprisingly, they got Tucker Carlson to sit down and actually talk about this man. And it's very interesting because I will give this film credit that it shows perspectives from both sides of George Soros. And I appreciated that it wasn't just a bunch of yelling sound clips like the very beginning of the documentary. You had different perspectives speaking upon this man and looking at that. And then what you really get is a lot of George Soros himself and his children speaking about him. And I do have to say, on some level, this documentary felt like George Soros is gonna tell you why he's a good person. And you get a lot of that perspective. And, it's tough to watch a documentary that's about someone that it very much feels like their point is to make you like them or to look at their perspectives and agree with them. So, that was one of the more least interesting aspects of this documentary. But what the documentary does do is look at a bigger picture of prejudice. And they show some really uncomfortable to watch clips and quotes and interviews with people either speaking about really prejudiced things or doing some horrible things to people out of prejudice. And I feel like this documentary would have worked better if it tried to focus on, is this a documentary about prejudices in humanity and what we can do to fix it? Or is this supposed to be something to get us on the side of George Soros? And I guess the point is, George Soros spends a lot of money trying to fight that kind of discrimination. And it's very interesting because they'll show sound clips. And honestly, I've seen some of these clips on television of they had Glenn Beck from when he had the Glenn Beck show on Fox News. They have Bill O'Reilly talking about Black Lives Matter and being and it's our buddy, George Soros, who's supporting all of this anarchy. And you have all these sound clips overlaid with him speaking, and there's other people's perspectives that add layers to who this person is. But the clips where they have him and his children very much feel like they're just trying to bolster his legacy. And honestly, this documentary probably would have been more interesting if they just focused on the perspectives of others piecing together this person. But every time one of his family members or him comes on, it's just very much trying to prove, and it goes really well with the Neil Cavuto clip that they show of him trying to, it gets very heated very quickly of him trying to say, people need to know who I am. And I felt like this documentary was made to show people from George Soros' perspective who George Soros is. And they do a lot of different kinds of things in this documentary, and honestly, I think this is going to be a very divisive documentary because there's going to be certain people that are just going to hate this with a fiery passion, and there's going to be people who get excitable because it's like, this is why he's doing these good things. And I feel like the documentary could have focused a little bit more on painting that gray area instead of trying to paint this as like, this is this and this is that. This side versus that side. There's no in between. Like, I hate trying to compare a lot of things to that David Crosby documentary that came out last year, but what I loved about it was he acknowledged his flaws, and you saw this person as he is all the way through. It's hard to get that perspective in this film because so much of it's just bolstering up George Soros, and then so much of it is just like, he's literally Hitler, or he's the devil. So it's a little hard to see that grayer area. There are definitely interviews in here. What I do appreciate about this documentary is it does put in so many different people and perspectives, and how it flows together really works, and it brings out an emotional feeling watching this documentary. So I appreciated the documentary. Could have been a little more focused, yes, especially for something that's like, this was like an hour and 25 minutes. But in general, I think this is definitely a documentary worth watching. But those are my thoughts on Soros. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.